Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. Glad to see you here. We're going to do a little work on cookies today. Cookies, specifically oatmeal raisin cookies. So we'll go through a little cookie discussion. What's the deal about cookies? Then we're going to talk for a little bit about why I'm doing this specific batch, because it's something special. This is a batch that's going to have a dedication associated with it, and that's special as far as I'm concerned. Then we will go right into mixing up some of the best oatmeal raisin cookies I think that I've ever had. So let's start with a little talk about cookies themselves. What about cookies? What about favorite cookies? Everybody's got a favorite cookie, I believe. Almost everybody's got a favorite cookie. And if you were to go out and take a poll in the United States of America, as some people have, what you'd find out is the most commonly enjoyed cookie is the chocolate chip cookie. Now, I got nothing against chocolate chip cookies. I am a chocolate chip cookie lover, especially if they're warm and chewy and they are accompanied by a cold glass of milk. It's pretty hard to come up with a better flavor than that. Although, as good as they are, there are others on this list. For example, number 2 is peanut butter cookies. And I'm terribly sorry to all those of you who love peanut butter cookies. I don't understand peanut butter cookies at all. Maybe I've just had the wrong kind, but boy, they're too crumbly and dry, and they're just not my cup of tea, or pile of dough, as it were. And so, peanut butter cookies second, but nah, no thanks. Third cookie on the list is oatmeal raisin cookies. And I'm a little surprised that that comes in number 3, but it does. We'll talk about oatmeal raisin cookies at length momentarily. The fourth one on the list is sugar cookies. And when I think sugar cookies, I think, they're okay. And I don't crave them. I wouldn't pick them off a tray if there were other alternatives. And I realize that around Christmas time they cut them in the shape of trees and Santa Clauses, and they sprinkle green and red sugar on them, and so that's festive. But I'm not a big fan. I like shortbreads. They were a few more down on the list. Shortbreads I like better than sugar cookies. But let's get back to the cookie of the day, which is the oatmeal raisin cookie. Did you realize that 1,500 California raisin growers produce 100% of the raisins consumed in the United States, and they do it within a 60-mile radius of Fresno, California? I mean, we're the king of raisin production. And in addition, about a third of the raisins produced in this region are exported to nearly 50 countries. So not only do they feed 100% of the United States demand, they do it with 2/3 of their production. Now, in 2021, almost 1.1 million tons of fresh and processed raisins were produced. So why aren't they going into oatmeal raisin cookies? What is going on? You'd think oatmeal raisin cookies would certainly beat the peanut butter cookie, and maybe even the chocolate chip cookie. And I think the reason that oatmeal raisin cookies are not as popular as they could be is that many people, when they are young, have had traumatic experiences with oatmeal raisin cookies. I was one. We used to go out to my Aunt Sophie's. She was my great aunt, Sophie. And she used to make oatmeal raisin cookies. And they looked good. If you looked at them on the plate, they looked like cookies. But when you actually started working on a chew, you found out that they were really just small sandstone sculptures that had raisins hidden inside, and you had to scrape away the outer layers of the sandstone to get down to the raisins and pull them out. So it was traumatic, and I ended up at one point just stuffing them down my pants because I didn't want to have to eat them. So I had the benefits of being praised for being a good boy and suffering through Aunt Sophie's cookies, while at the same time didn't have to go through the experience of actually eating them. The negative side effect, of course, was that keeping cookies in your pants. Even cookies that are relatively hard um, didn't turn out to be very good. They did crumble, and I did get crumbs, and it was not comfortable. But I did get the attaboy for finishing them, and I think that was worth the trade. But my point is that a lot of people start their oatmeal raisin cookie journey with a bad oatmeal raisin cookie experience. It's a cookie that's hard and crunchy and just sad in every respect for an oatmeal raisin cookie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest that anybody who has that problem, anybody who doesn't like oatmeal raisin cookies, and it isn't specific because they don't like the way raisins taste, I can't fix that. But if you don't like oatmeal raisin cookies, I suggest that you try a treatment, which I tried myself, which is this recipe. Make cookies using this recipe and eat them, and you will be cured of any negative or disadvantageous thoughts that you might have about the oatmeal raisin cookie, the humble yet great oatmeal raisin cookie. So let's kick this thing off. Let's get some food into the bowl and see what we're going to do. The process here is, I think we will just take a quick look at the ingredients as we go through and mix them, because why not? We're going to put some butter and some sugar and some brown sugar into a bowl. We're going to put in some eggs and some vanilla. We're going to put in some flour and some baking soda, cinnamon, cloves, salt, some oats and raisins. And we're going to do all that for a special reason today. Like I said earlier, this is a dedicated cookie batch. This is cooked for someone specifically. I got a very good friend, known for a very long time, a young man named Isaac. He's 26 years old, just recently married, and even more recently discovered that he has thyroid cancer. And of course, that sucks if you're 26 years old and you just got married and life's going pretty good and then you get thyroid cancer. But Isaac's got some things working in his favor, and I have an exceptionally high degree of confidence that he's going to do just great. First of all, we live in a part of the world that has an amazing set of medical resources. The hospitals, the doctors, the technology, the knowledge that's built up in the area that we live in is just phenomenal. And so he's going to get the best of treatment. His family is able to cover that through their insurance and money that they have available. And he is just extremely well loved by his family. And so there's another strike in his favor, another point that's going for him. The third thing is he's got just an amazing set of friends. I know many of them. They are loyal, true friends that have been with him for years and years. They are great people to rely on, and he will, and they all know that he will. There's an understanding. And so that too gives him a great boost. But more important than all of that, more important than these pieces, and they are all crucial, but the most important thing, and this turns out to be the most important thing in almost every human endeavor, whether you're fighting a disease, or whether you're trying to get a project done, or whether you're working on your relationship, or whether you're working on getting a more healthy body, doesn't matter what it is, whatever your challenge is, one of the primary elements that determine your success or your failure is your attitude. Do you think you can or don't you? And if you don't think you can, the chances that you can are really, really reduced. They're slim. Doesn't matter what it is that thing is. And the great thing about Isaac is he knows he can. He knows he's going to beat this thing. There's no question about it. Prognosis is good. He's got the tools that he needs, and he's got the attitude. Well, we were sitting around talking about this the other night, and one of the benefits of being old is occasionally people listen to you. Not exceptionally often anymore, but I'm old and he's not. And so I was telling him my advice, which is pretty much what you just heard. And somehow the conversation turned to me bragging about how great my oatmeal raisin cookies were. And he said, "Oh, that's my favorite." And so, of course, here we go. They are on the way. We got oatmeal raisin cookies, which are going to be baked and delivered. And the baking, including the mixing, is happening right here so you can see it. So now let's get right down to the business here. We have one interesting note And that interesting note is I'm actually going to make 2 batches of cookies at the same time, a double batch as it were. But I'm going to keep them separated. I'm going to divide it in half, and I'm going to make a slight modification to one of them. And the reason that I am doing that is for a test. I'd like to see if replacing some of the sugar in the recipe with molasses changes the flavor profile significantly, and if so, which one do I like the best? So we'll be doing that as we go along. I am going to give you information about what I'm putting in based upon a single recipe. You can see here that we've got 3/4 cup of soft butter. Note how soft this butter is here. Just let me get a fork and give you, I'll fork this butter here. Now look at that. That's soft. That's soft. It's not a bowl of liquid butter. You know, some people, you say soft butter and they bring it over to the microwave and they put it on 4 minutes and it comes back a puddle of grease. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do here is just get it soft. And the right way to do it is take the butter out the night before, and then it'll be ready when you're ready. But if you got to microwave it, do it 10 seconds at a time and put it in the bowl first. And when it gets down to about that level, don't do any more. We're going to put in some sugar, 3/4 cup of white sugar, 3/4 cup of brown sugar. And again, I'm going to adjust one of the 2 batches to have about 1/4 cup of molasses and 1/2 cup of white sugar to see how it works. You're going to have 2 eggs, and again, that's for a single batch. A teaspoon of vanilla extract, a 1/4 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves, and there's one of the secrets of this recipe. You don't find cloves in a lot of oatmeal raisin cookies, but it makes them quite delicious. We're going to throw in some salt and then some rolled oats and then a cup of raisins. And the raisins are going to be raisins that I put in the microwave in water, not completely covered, for about 5 minutes. I cook them right up because it makes them tender, makes them a little plumper, and I think it makes the cookie chewier from my experience. So I'll show you that as we get further into it. Let's get going on this business. We got butter in the pan already. I'm just going to squeeze that around a little bit so that it's nice and friendly around the edges. And then we go right in with the sugar. So I've got some white sugar I'm going to fly in there, and then I'm going to throw in a little brown sugar. And I'm going to squeeze those together. The whole mixture is going to eventually turn into kind of a pasty, creamy thing, but we'll let that go for a little while here. And it looks to me like I might have picked out the wrong size bowl for this exercise. So let's get a bigger bowl. What do you think about that? Because I got to put eggs in here and I got to put vanilla in here, and this is going to get sloppy. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to move up one size in bowls. How's that? I think we're going to make it. I'm going to put all this stuff in there like I should have done originally if I was paying attention to how much stuff was in there. I doubled the batch, but I didn't double the bowl size. You know what happens when you do that? You got too much mass. See, you got to have volume if you increase your mass. That's just the way science works. But the key to cooking, I think, particularly cooking you enjoy, is not sweating things. Okay, so the fact that I did this wrong and I got an extra bowl that I got to clean later on, that's a small price to pay for doing it right. Now, let me just get on with the business here of mixing this up. I'm going to put that in there like this. And then I'm going to use a wooden spoon for my mixing. And the reason I use a wooden spoon is it makes me feel all good and happy. There you go. Now here we have the sugar, the butter. It's coming together. Now watch what happens next. We are going to throw in a teaspoon of vanilla. You'll find it right here. And I'm just going to sprinkle it on there like that. That's perfectly evenly applied, more or less, as far as anything that we record is going to know. And then I'm going to throw in my eggs. Again, 2 eggs for a batch. I'm doubling up, so I'm doing 4. Now I'm going to smash these babies together. And I'm going to try to make myself a little creamy sauce out of this. Get the eggs going, get the butter going. I'm smashing the butter as I'm going through. I want to kind of make sure that this stuff gets well blended. You don't want unblended cookies. Those unexpected things. You're going to have serious, weird, perhaps even supernatural effects if you don't get your ingredients put together right. Well, that's a bunch of bull, of course. But hey, it still makes sense to mix them up. See how nice that is? That's all getting together. The butter's still kind of in there. You can see pieces, but it doesn't matter. It's not like it's going to survive the baking. The butter's going to be plenty melted when we get done. All right, now I'm going to scrape off my nice touchy-feely spoon. Get that off into there like that. And then I'm going to take all of that over here and I'm going to say to myself, what do I need next? Well, this is what we commonly refer to as the wet ingredients. And that's because they're all wet. Now we're going to go over to the dry ingredients. And you can see right here, I have a dry bowl for the dry ingredients. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the flour. You get a cup and a quarter of regular old everyday white flour. And then you slide in a teaspoon of baking soda. There it is, not baking powder, baking soda. Sprinkle it around a little bit. Share the wealth. Share the wealth. Then after we do the baking soda, we're going to do the cinnamon. Cinnamon is a delicious seasoning. I know this is not fresh ground, and fresh ground is very good, but today we're taking it right out of the jar. After we get done with that, we put in the cloves. And as I mentioned earlier, cloves is a secret ingredient in this particular recipe. I've not found it in most other recipes. Now, I'm going to smell it. Oh yeah, that smells like clove. Smell. Can you see? Oh yeah, it's nice. I'm going to throw it right in there with the rest. Ding, ding. Open the dough. Let's see, where are we at? We're on the salt. I'm going with half a teaspoon salt. What's wrong with this? Stuck to the bottom. Some kind of a weird phenomena going on here. Poltergeist. But that's salt. Guarantee it. All right, what do we got next? It says rolled oats and raisins, but we don't put those in yet. Don't go throwing rolled oats into this. We got to mix our dry ingredients up so that they are well blended. You don't want big old lumps of cinnamon or big old lumps of clove. You want distribution. You want homogeneity. You want everything to be mixed in nice. See how nice that looks? Look at all that stuff that was going to get into your cookie and cause you to go, because I got too much clove. That's gone now. It's been taken care of. It has been sorted, as they say in the UK. Sorted. It has been sorted. It's all taken care of. Look at now. That's a nice mix right there. So what are we going to do with this? What's the next step? I'll tell you. You bring back that tiny little bowl we had here before, and you throw this stuff right in. Dry ingredients goes into the wet ingredients, and now what do you have? It's all wet at that point. You know, once it's wet, it stays wet. I'm gonna get my good feely wooden spoon back out again, and I'm just gonna gently go around in circles here. You don't have to make any violent moves. Don't frighten the dough. Just because you know what happens if you do violent moves, your flour goes all over the place, and you're wearing it, and it's on your counter, and it's on your dog, and your dog's walking around, looks like he's a ghost or a baker, one or the other. Now you'll notice that this is looking pretty good. It's still moist. See how moist that is still? We haven't dried this out. It's nice and moist, and we have yet to put in the raisins, and the raisins contain a little moisture. Let's talk about raisins for a minute. As you recall, I took these raisins and I put them in the microwave in water for about 5 minutes. Now these were crusty little raisins, but look how nice and plump they are now. They are just, I mean, we're talking, these are choice plump creatures. I think we're gonna have to eat one to see whether or not it's gonna work out. Oh yeah, it's gonna work out. Now, I drained almost all the water out because you don't want too much. Too much water in there is gonna make it runny. Then your cookies look like they got hit with some kind of a truck. It'll be all over the floor. Okay, now, the next thing we gotta do is to put in the oats. We're gonna put in the oats. See what you got there? That was a cup of raisins, by the way. 1 cup of raisins. And this is 2 3/4 cups of rolled oats. Again, oats. And those rolled oats, those 2 3/4 cups of rolled oats, those are the quantities necessary for a single batch. We're doing a double. Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to divide this in half. Once we get it all mixed together, we're going to divide it in half, and then we're going to add some molasses to one side, and we're going to add some sugar to the other. Now, this is a pretty serious dough, I'll have you know. This is heavy duty. It takes some mixing. You gotta put some elbow grease into it. And then once you get to this point, you gotta say to yourself, I am big, strong boy, or girl, as the case may be. And then you just keep on working it, and you keep on working it. Now, I'm getting pretty close to the point where I want to be. I've pretty much got everything soaked up in here. I'm going to take my friendly spatula, and I'm going to clean off my good feeling spoon, like that. And now, I'm going to split this into 2 batches. The test batch and the control batch. One with molasses and one without. So to do that, I'm going to spread that out like this, and then I'm going to cut it in half like that with my good feeling spoon. Now I got roughly half and half as far as anybody knows. And I'm going to assume that I have exactly half and half because nobody is here to challenge me on that point. Now I'm going to take all of this stuff and put it into one bowl like this. Half, which would be a full batch if you were going by the recipe. Half of a double batch. A little mathematics going on here. Stay up with us, guys. Half of a double batch is a batch. We like to try to be educational here as well as cooker. Now, I have 2 bowls like that. Now this one is going to be just a smidge tricky because I need to put sugar in there, but I don't want to just put granulated sugar right over the top of it because it's not going to mix very well. So I'm going to try to make just a touch of a syrup. I think that's going to be okay because obviously the molasses is, oh, see what I got there? I just put some water in there. Again, this is not part of the recipe, this is part of the experiment. So you don't have to pay any attention to this at all. If you're just thinking about cooking and you're not trying to be a scientist today, that's not an issue. Now I'm going to pour this in. So this is the standard control batch with sugar as its ingredient. And now I got to make sure that gets mixed in there. It's in solution, but there is quite a little bit of precipitate in there. And if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the precipitate. That's what we used to learn in school. Now, if you look at this, we're going to get it all mixed up again. We're going to gather it together so it can spend time with its own bad self. Then I'm going to get my spatula, more cleaning, more yummy yummy, like that. Okay, there's the first batch. Did you see it? The control. Now, I don't think I'll put it in that bowl. I think I'm just going to do it in this bowl right here. That's how much faith I have in my own mixing capabilities. This is molasses. Molasses, grandma's molasses. And again, this is not part of the standard recipe. I know we're getting a little complex here with testing methods, but and test variables. But don't confuse yourself. I'm going to see if this works. Now, if this works, I will craft up a recipe that has the proper amount of sugar and molasses, so that we can recreate this in a lab environment if we need to. But for right now, all you got to know is that this is not part of the recipe. It is part of the experiment. Okay? Pay attention. That's important. This is not supposed to be confusing. It's supposed to be informative. Maybe even entertaining. I don't know. I can't tell you for sure. So we got the molasses in there. You can see it. Here it is. There it is. It's going around. Now, in order for this to work out right, and this, if I'm going to do this again, if the molasses seems to have done something for it, I will of course put that in with the wet materials. I should have this time. I should have split that in half, but I just was too lazy to make two complete batches separately. I thought I can make my life easier by making one batch that's big and slightly modifying the components, and it did work. Nothing wrong with that. But I don't think it is not a true representation, again, because normally that molasses would have been mixed in with the wet material, and it would have been nicely mixed. And the sugar would have been mixed in with the wet material too, to melt in. So they would have been a little more consistent. But I don't know that I'm going to have any serious trouble. I'm guessing I'm not going to have any serious trouble, and I'm hoping that I'm not going to have any serious trouble. Now, there goes that. Now, what do we do next? We got to make some cookies, boys and girls. We got to make some cookies. We got to form and shape some cookies. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a half and half. Okay? First half is going to be the test batch. So, I'm going to put in, I don't know, I put in a good heavy tablespoon. Depends upon how you like your cookies. Some people like them big, and some people like them tiny. I like little cookies because then I can eat a lot of them. That's how I like to do it. Now, the thing to worry about here is that these things, if they're too big, they will run together, and you will get a oatmeal raisin pie, and that will be absolutely delicious. I'll tell you that there's nothing. Don't consider yourself a failure if the cookies don't end up being perfectly apportioned. Because in reality, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You can cut them apart and people will eat them up as fast as you can set them out anyway. No one's going to complain about an irregular shaped cookie. I'm sorry. If they do, you're with the wrong crowd. Okay, so there, I got 6 of them out. And those are the molasses guys. And the molasses guys are on the top sheet, see here. Now, I'm going to shift gears, and I'm going to pick up the control batch. Now you can tell just by looking at them that they're a little different, can't you? But obviously the molasses has changed the color a little bit, and that's an interesting thing. I don't know how that's going to end up when they're baked. I'm excited about the idea of finding out. Now here is the remainder of this tray. How many have I got on there? Have I got 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sí. Es todos. Okay, there we go. We are now sitting on a good solid dozen cookies ready for baking. And you have to get the oven up to about 360 degrees. And you're going to want to spend 12 minutes with these things in the oven. So we'll just go ahead and take that step, and we will then join you in a moment. We're going to time travel forward to a point in time where this cookie batch is completely done. We'll pull them out. So hang on to your shorts, because we are going to be moving at light speed to the next point in time. All right, time travel is done. We are out in the future some 17 minutes. These cookies have been in the oven for 17 minutes, and here they come. Let's just pull them out and eyeball them. Now, if you got a stove or an oven that's anything like mine, it's a good idea to halfway through that 17 minutes, which would be what? 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Right, 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Take them out and turn them 180 degrees and put them back in. Turn them around so that they do not burn on one side. When I say turn them around 180 degrees, don't flip them over. That will be a very big mess. It's still a 180 degree turn, but it's not the right direction. Okay, so this is what we got. You can see that there's a significant color difference. It's noticeable. Over here we got the originals. Over here we've got the control group, and down here we've got the molasses, the test group. Now, these were at 360 degrees for about 17 minutes. Again, flipped in the middle of that process and taken out. Right now they are going to be very, very tender, very, very hard to handle. So you may wish to spend some time with them. I have some parchment paper on the bottom, which is very good. If you don't do that, they might get so sticky you can't get them off. But these, they're not bad. Now look at that. I'm going to let them sit for just a minute or two as I scoop some of these others off before we start inspecting them, because there's a possibility that they may fall apart. Before they cool down, they are very tender, and we don't want to destroy them. It isn't though you couldn't eat them. I have eaten many, many chunks of cookies. I'm not above eating crumbs and bits and pieces, as long as they haven't dropped on the floor for very long. So you can see right here that we have, now see they're a little sticky too because of the heat. I don't know what we do with that one. He's stuck on there good. Let me go find myself another utensil. A fork, because I'm going to fork this. No. There you go. Now that, whoa. This is a tricky sport. I got to tell you that much. Tricky sport. Now this one over here, see, this one's, he's grown right together on the edge. But you know what? We're not going to worry about it. We're just going to slice him. One good slice down the middle. Just press down. You don't have to do a whole lot of machinations. There's another one. See, now he almost fell off. He was working it. I'm going to get a couple of these standard ones because we're going to have to do a side-by-side taste test. Experiment versus control. And I don't want them to be too hot when that happens. So, but I will take all the molasses ones off and start them cooling. Holy cow, we got a failure on one side. Okay. There's no reason for you to worry. There is no reason for you to panic in any sense. I have taken care of it. Here's that last molasses boy right there. He's tender. He's very tender. They are very tender. The thing about oatmeal raisin cookies is if you do it right, they can be both chewy and crunchy at the same time. And I think that's just a splendid thing. So let's take these over here. Let's put these center stage. Let's do it like this because it seems to be a better display. Now we're going to do the all-important taste test. There's no way to get to an answer with regard to cooking tests than to eat the results. That's the only thing we can do. Let's get ourselves a presentation plate. We'll use the one that's white that doesn't have too many chips out of it. See? Beautiful. Now, we'll take one of these take one of these. Control batch, control. Experimental batch, experiment. I'm going to take a moment to prepare the samples, as they say, because they do need to be properly prepared so that we get a good, valid test. What you'll find in a minute is that I think this test is going to reveal good data. Are you ready? Here we have it. Can you see them all right? This is the control group. A good cookie, no doubt. A good cookie. Tastes like a delicious oatmeal raisin cookie, warm out of the oven, just like I remembered the last batch that I made 2 or 3 days ago. Now, if you will wait for just a moment, I'm going to cleanse my palate with some Coca-Cola Zero, which I'm sure is not any kind of a palate cleanser at all. Then we're going to go back to looking at this guy. Now this is and you can see the difference in color there. Very nice, browned up, very nice. This guy also is delicious. Look at that bottom. Have you ever seen a more delicious looking bottom? That's enough from all of you out there. This is a lovely cookie and a lovely bottom surface to a cookie. Let's do a taste test. Surprisingly, not a huge difference in taste. You can detect the molasses in the second cookie, in the experimental batch, but it's in no way overpowering. It fits right in. The profile works quite well. So I think I will make a batch of those proper next to see what a good molasses does. And there's all kinds of other herbs I'm going to try to put in these things to see what happens in small quantities, micro-herbal stimulation, as they say. But for now, I'm going to say, Isaac, your cookies are done. I'll be bringing them over. Hang in there. You are absolutely, most definitely going to win this shit. Do not sweat it. You're doing everything right. I want to say thanks to all of you for being here. It was great to have you. I hope you found something out that you like. I hope you get yourself one of these cookies, although these cookies are not going to be here long enough for you to get them. It just isn't going to happen. But I hope you try it. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you come back again, because we are going to be making something else.